I've got three great jobs for inherited IRAs. Hi, it's financial planner Sean Mullaney. Let's discuss. So, people worry about inheriting traditional retirement accounts. Oh my goodness, I'm going to inherit this traditional IRA and I'm going to have to withdraw it into my taxable income over 10 years. Oh no. Well, I've got three ways that inherited IRA could be a great part of your financial life. The first way is tax basketing, specifically bonds, right? So, look, I'm not giving you investment advice in this video, but most Americans thinking about retirement one day are going to want to have some bonds in the portfolio. And the question then becomes, where do we hold these bonds? Do we put it in our own 401k or IRA, our own Roth IRA, HSA, taxable brokerage account? Well, I gotta say, I think the best place ever for bonds is an inherited IRA. So why do I say that? One, bonds, funds, they generate this ordinary income at a higher yield. We don't like it on our tax return. So when we put it in the inherited IRA, it hides the interest income away from the tax man. That's pretty good. But another thing about inherited IRAs is we don't want those things growing too much vis-a-vis the rest of the portfolio. Now, yes, in theory, we want everything to grow to the moon, but most Americans are managing risk in different ways, and oftentimes bonds plays a role in that. Well, if bonds are going to play a role in that, why don't we put those bonds in the inherited IRA, where from an expected return perspective, we're artificially keeping that inherited IRA just a little lower in value because it won't grow as much because it's in bonds, not equities. And then our RMDs or distributions, I should say, there could be RMDs, but in the 10-year rule, we're probably going to be doing distributions more than our RMDs anyway. So we're going to have, we're going to be keeping that inherited IRA low so that our distributions are a little lower, and that manages for taxable income. So bonds sit really well in inherited IRAs. That's my first job for that inherited IRA, hold bonds. My second job for that inherited IRA is paying tax, particularly if we're retired. So when you go into that inherited IRA and you take a distribution, the financial institution is going to say, hey, we're going to withhold some money. How much would you like withheld? Well, that gives us an opportunity. When we're early retired, say, or even late retired, doesn't matter, we don't have a W-2 job, we're not going to work, they're not doing withholding. So that means we got to pay estimated tax payments. Well, we can pay estimated tax payments, or perhaps what we do is we go into that inherited IRA, we say we're subject to a 10-year rule anyway. So we got to be taking this money out and including it in taxable income. Well, maybe we take this money out later in the year. At a time we've estimated our income and deductions for tax purposes, we've got a good idea of how much tax we owe, and maybe later in the year we generate a distribution that pays our current year tax tab, right? It's a way of keeping the money in our own name longer in the year. The inherited IRA has its own titling, different conversation, but essentially keeping the money till later in the year. And then instead of doing 4 estimated payments, maybe we do one distribution that all goes to the IRS or mostly goes to the IRS or goes largely to the IRS and some to the state. And that's a way of doing it almost like W-2 withholding. When we do withholding from an inherited IRA, regular IRA, W-2 paycheck, those sorts of things, it's all deemed to happen equally throughout the year. So we don't have to do it in 4 quarterly installments. We can just do it later in the year and we're done. Great. Inherited IRAs, which we got to drain anyway in most cases because of this 10-year rule. Great way to drain it is get your taxes paid when you're in retirement, and you have to worry a lot less about things like estimated tax payments and the like. So that's the second great job for an inherited IRA, is paying income tax, both federal and state. The third great job for an inherited IRA is early retirement. I've alluded to this 10-year rule. We got to drain these things. So the inherited IRA is a great asset to live off first in early retirement. And it's going to be just the way the demographics work, right? Sadly, the baby boomer generation, the first generation that had significant balances in 401ks, IRAs, they're starting to pass, and they're passing at a time where their Gen X kids might be in their early 60s, 50s, late 40s. And that might be a time to start thinking about early retirement. The inherited IRA can sort of change your financial picture. But, you say, oh, I'm 52, I'm 53. Can I use this? Well, the inherited IRA never pays the 10% penalty. You can inherit an IRA at 12 years old. You take distributions. You don't pay the 10% early withdrawal penalty. So for those in their 40s, 50s, 60s thinking about an early retirement, at least by conventional standards, this could be the opportunity. We'll live first on this inherited IRA. We had to drain it anyway. Let's create no other income. It'll go at low tax brackets, the standard deduction, 10%, 12%. And so we'll pay some tax on it, but it won't be so bad. It'll facilitate the first part of our living for our early retirement. Maybe gets us over 59 and a half. So when it's depleted, we can then access our own retirement accounts in a very easy peasy way. So the inherited IRA can be a great asset to fund the first years of early retirement. So holding bonds, paying taxes, and funding early retirement, 3 great jobs for an inherited IRA. What do you think about inherited IRAs? Are you worried about all the taxes that you're going to have to pay? Well, maybe it won't be so much, especially if you use it for an early retirement. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please mash that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.